What is up, everybody? Louie back here again. We got an exciting main event and potential to be really exciting pay-per-view card. UFC 297, Sean Strickland, the wild, crazy person, taking on Dricus du Plessis, possibly the real African champion for the 185 middleweight title. Israel Adesanya is not fighting for a title. It's been a long time since that happened. Also, we're going to have a new champion at women's bantamweight 135. You got Raquel Rocky Pennington taking on Mayra Bueno Silva to see if one of them can become a star with the absence of Amanda Nunes now that she's retired. 170 welterweight continues to have a lot of movement toward the bottom of the rankings. You got Mike Proper MALOTT, unranked, taking on number 13, Neil Magny. Neil Magny's the guy that prospects fight if they want to get ranked. He's the ultimate test, the ultimate gatekeeper. If Mike MALOTT can get it done, then, you know, there's a new player at 170. You also got Chris Curtis taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. Marc-Andre Barriault trying to break into the bottom of the top 15. Chris Curtis, currently ranked number 14, seeing if he can hold on to his rankings and get a win. Also, big one at featherweight that's kind of flying under the radar. You got number 4, Arnold Allen Allen, taking on number 9, Movsar Evloev. Movsar, this is his first fight back since that shockingly bad performance against Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez almost submitted him a few different times. So we'll see. Arnold Allen coming off like a competitive loss to Max Holloway. And then they're fighting for the title. You got Topuria taking on Volkanovski in a month, so that should be interesting. But yeah, we got pretty good cards. Let's get right into it. First fight of the night, 125 pounds, men's flyweight. Malcolm Gordon taking on Jimmy Flick. Malcolm took on Jake Hadley his last fight. In the first round, he kind of circles on the outside, pumps some jabs, but then he eats left, hook to the body, and eats a 1-2, and just gets knocked out. So, yeah, questionable chin at best. Before that, he took on Muhammad Mokaev. Actually had a competitive performance against him. In the first round, he lands some overhands, but he eats a head kick, and then he gets doubled off the fence. Can't do much there. And then in the second round, he lands some lead, short right hooks and a straight left, but he kind of walks right into a single, gets taken down. But he's able to bridge through half guard. He's able to reverse and actually take his back, puts on a rear naked choke attempt at the end of the round. Really surprising. But then in the third round, he does not show any IQ whatsoever. He blitzes and gets doubled pretty much right away. But then he stands up with the underhook, and he's able to take his back and get a mat return. But then he inevitably gets reversed into half guard. In a half guard transition, and then he gets doubled, and he is able to take his back, but he gets submitted with an armbar. So, sort of a scramble situation, but, you know, just didn't have the IQ to kind of pace himself in the third round and possibly could have won the fight. Jimmy Flick took on Alessandro Costa his last fight. Didn't go well for him. First round, he walks into a bunch of leg kicks and body shots, and the leg kicks hurt him really bad pretty much immediately. But then he eats a left hook to the body and then a right hook up top to the head, and just takes a lot of leg kicks. And in the second round, his double attempt to get stuffed, kind of all he could do with, you know, his legs being so damaged. Then he gets TKO'd with elbows from ground and pound. So, you know, Jimmy Flick, he's either really good or really bad, basically. Jimmy Flick plus 170, Malcolm Gordon minus 205. I'm not betting minus 205 on Malcolm Gordon. Jimmy Flick, I don't know what he's going to look like, but plus 170, count me in. I'm going with Jimmy Flick on this one. He can get a quick submission. Second fight of the night, 125 pounds, women's flyweight, JASUDAVICIUS taking on Priscilla Cachoeira. They're like bottom up. They're like trying to break into the rankings here, but JASUDAVICIUS coming off a loss and Priscilla Cachoeira coming off a loss. So, you know, decent opportunity for either woman. Jasmine took on Tracy Cortez her last fight. In the first round, she walks into some straight rights, but then she's able to land some overhand rights off of Tracy's naked leg kicks, but then she eats a hook after she exits and off a couple naked leg kicks. And then in the second round, she walks through 1-2. She's able to land a head kick, and then she touches with the lead left, and then she's able to get the double. Doesn't do a whole lot with it, though, but she's able to secure some decent riding time. Then in the third round, she's able to shoots a double, gets up to the body lock. She kind of wings some overhands, and then she eats some left hooks, but she's able to get the clinch up against the fence, but, you know, couldn't really do too much damage, and she really didn't have any problem eating punches. So she kind of walks through punches. I don't know if I like that against Cachoeira. I saw Cachoeira took on Miranda Maverick her last fight. In the first round, she gets taken down with a single off of a head kick. But then in the second round, she's looking for some counter uppercuts and some counter hooks. off of the takedown attempts. And then she gets taken out with the single. She steps in too far with throwing a hook. But then the second round, she walks into a lead hook. But then she gets taken down with a single. And then she gets caught in an armbar. Scramble situation, gets submitted. So, yeah. Priscilla Cachoeira, plus 300. Jasmine JASUDAVICIUS, minus 380. I'm not going to bet minus 380 on Jasmine JASUDAVICIUS. But, you know, she can eat a punch, so I don't think Priscilla Cachoeira is going to knock her out. But maybe she can. Maybe something crazy will happen in Canada. But I'm going to, if you're going to, I'm not betting on this fight, but I would put my money on Priscilla Cachoeira, but my official pick is Jasmine JASUDAVICIUS. But don't put your money on it. Third fight of the night, 170 pounds, men's welterweight, Johan LAINESSE taking on Sam Patterson. Both guys need a win here. LAINESSE took on Mike MALOTT his last fight in the first round. He circles along the outside. He gets pressed with some crosses. And then he gets body locked off an overhand right into half guard and then submitted with an arm triangle. Not too much. And before that, his fight was, you know, his fights before that were pretty close. But, you know, he would land a big shot. But he just can't go the full fight. So, you know. And neither guy's fought, or he hasn't fought in a while. Sam Patterson took on, you know, Ashmu's last fight in the first round. He lands a 1-2 off of a leg kick, but then he gets dropped with an overhand off of his leg kick and just gets TKO'd via ground and pound. So that's not a good sign. Before that, he took on Vinicius Sensi on Dana White's Contender Series in the first round. He lands a 1-2 whenever he gets pressed and in the clinch battles, but then he gets dropped with right and left hooks and an uppercut, but he's able to work his way back up. But then he eats some left hooks to the body and gets taken out of the body lock trip, but he's able to reverse the back kick attempt to kind of reverse it. But yeah, he eats some big shots as well. Sam Patterson plus 120, Johan LAINESSE minus 140. Honestly, don't know. Neither guy's really that good. Plus 120, Sam Patterson, yeah, count me in. Fourth fight of the night, 115 pounds, women's strawweight, Jillian Robertson taking on VIANA. Both women trying to bounce back from a loss, trying to work their way to the bottom of the rankings. Jillian Robertson took on Tabitha Ricci her last fight. In the first round, she gets touched up with some 1-2s at range. She misses with her overhands a little too far out, but she's able to land an overhand. But then she eats a 1-2 and an uppercut, standing at range. And then the second round, she gets kept at range with some leg kicks and jabs. Can't work her way in. Doesn't really try to work her way in the whole fight too much. She throws some overhands, but she doesn't get through. And then she gets touched with some jabs. And then she gets taken out with the trip off of her kick. But Tabitha doesn't go down with her. Then in the third round, she presses and gets a snatch, quick snatch, single. Can't do too much with it, though. I mean, then she walks into some jabs and a lead hook and just doesn't really, you know, get in the pocket, really. VIANA took on Jasmine Lucindo her last fight in the first round. She lands a leg kick and a right hook, and then a body kick, followed up with a left hook, and then gets a body lock trip. Pretty nice beginning. But then she gets taken out with the body lock trip off of a headlock attempt, which she didn't need to throw. Then in the second round, she gets rocked with the right hook off of a left body kick. And then she gets body locked off of a body kick right into half guard and gets submitted with an arm triangle. So, I don't know. Maybe she doesn't do too good past second round. VIANA plus 245, Jillian Robertson minus 305. I wouldn't put money on this fight, but Jillian Robertson, I think she's going to take her down and submit her. VIANA is probably dangerous in the first round. Jillian Robertson, great cardio, and she'll be able to take her down in the second and third round. I'm going to go Jillian Robertson. Fifth fight of the night, 135 pounds, men's bantamweight, Sergey Sidey taking on Ramon Tavares. This is a rematch from Dana White's Contender Series. Sergey Sidey took on Ramon Tavares his last fight on Dana White Contender Series. In the first round, he eats a 1-2 off of a knee, but then he gets pressed, and then he eats a 1-2. But he's able to land some body kicks, but then he eats a counter overhand. Then he eats a counter straight left off of a feint. But then he's able to land a jab, drops him with the 1-2 from range, gets the technical knockout. The ref should have let it go on longer, so I think that's why they're rematching. But, you know, he hurt him pretty bad. Then Ramon Tavares took on Cortavius Romulus on Dana White's Contender Series, his last fight. In the first round, he gets pressed with a 1-2 and a head kick. Has his hands down for some reason. But then he's able to drop him with an overhand left, counter off of the jab. He's able to land a counter right hook off of a straight flurry, and then he's able to get and break out of the clinch, lands a straight left, and gets the knockout victory. So, yeah, he's got pretty good power. Sergey does as well. Should be interesting. Ramon Tavares, plus 155. Sergey Sidey, minus 185. I mean, stuff like this, I like to bet the underdog, but, you know, Sergey Sidey beat him pretty decisively, and I don't really see a reason for that to change. So, I'm going to go Sergey Sidey, minus 185, but probably stay away from this one. Main event of the prelims, 145 pounds, men's featherweight, Charles Jourdain taking on Woodson. Both guys been working their way up a little bit, bouncing back from losses, trying to get into the rankings. And, you know, this will be a breakthrough performance for either guy, so big one for their trajectory. Charles Jourdain took on Ricardo Ramos his last fight in the first round. He gets pressed back with some head kicks. He's able to land a lunge straight and then a left and then a right hook to the body. He gives up the single, but then he pulls the guillotine. Relatively tight, but he doesn't finish it. But then he scramble from the deep half position on the bottom. And he's able to hit a switch sit, and then he pulls the guillotine when they're both kind of on their knees, front headlock position, gets a submission. So, yeah. And, you know, Charles Jourdain, we've seen he's a dog. He can go all 3 rounds, no problem. Second, Sean Woodson. Sean Woodson took on Dennis Bazookia his last fight. In the first round, he eats overhand right off of his left hook, but then he kind of skirts along the fence. And he's able to land some leg kicks, but then he eats an overhand. But then he's able to get the clinch before he takes too much damage. And then he start whipping the body at range up against the fence. That's a sweet spot, having him up against the fence, kind of standing a little bit at range, piecing him up. Then in the second round, he lands 1-2 whenever he gets pressed in the pocket, but then he eats a straight right on the fence. But he's able to stuff the double leg attempt, and he's able to rip the body from the collar tie, land some knees to the body. And he tries to go for the guillotine from a front headlock position. Can't get it, but then he's able to take the back. Then he goes to north-south position, tries to go for the Kimura. And, you know, kind of almost had it. Puts a lot of effort into it, but couldn't quite get it. But he was ripping that thing pretty aggressively. But then he kind of slides off his back toward the end. Eats some nasty ground and pound at the end, but I think he won the round. Then in the third round, he rips the body up against the fence. He's able to get the double leg takedown, but he's not able to hold him. And then he gets reversed with and he gets shot at, and Bazooka shoots a double on him, but then he's able to hit a pass by and take the back. But then he gets pressed with some body shots up against the fence, but then he's able to land a nasty knee and kind of on the end round in the fight on a good note. Sean Woodson plus 170, Charles Jourdain minus 205. Don't love the price tag, honestly, but I think Charles Jourdain just going to be the bigger dog. I think this fight probably will go 3 rounds. And, you know, Sean Woodson's going to piece him up. And Charles Jourdain, not the most defensively responsible, but I think he's getting better at that. I think he knows that's a problem. He's addressed it. And I think he's going to be able to win the wrestling exchanges, and he's going to have more gas in the tank at the end of the second and in the third round. And, yeah, Charles Jourdain just likes to come forward. Sean Woodson needs space. If Charles Jourdain can smother him, I think he wins. Minus 205, I'm going to go Charles Jourdain. The actual main event of the prelims, 135 pounds, men's bantamweight, Brad Katona, fresh off the Ultimate Fighter victory, taking on Garrett Armfeld. Brad Katona took on Cody Gibson his last fight in the finale. First round, he eats some long hooks and some body kicks in the pocket, but then he eats a straight right at range, but then he's able to slip the right cross, lands a nasty left hook. Then in the second round, he gets pressed with some crosses, but then he gets underhooked up against the fence. He's able to break out of that, though. He lands a lunge jab from range, but then he gets pressed with some 1-2s and a right hook to the body, eats a right hook to the body in the pocket, but then he's able to land a counter left hook, counter off the right hook in the pocket. But then he's able to land a lunge jab and then a right hook in the pocket, and then he rocks him with that, and he's able to get the tie clinch, land some uppercuts and some knees to the head, getting really nasty toward the end of the round. Then in the third round, he ducks under the jabs, rips the body, and then eats a right cross. Remember, he's backing up, though, but then eats a right cross off of his jab. But then tie turns for him second half of the round, and then he lands a right uppercut in the pocket, and then overhand right, and he's able to land a left hook and a jab flurry. But then he eats an uppercut at the end, though. But, yeah. They're both in each other's faces the whole fight, and Brad Katona just able to land the bigger shots toward the end of the fight. And Garrett Armfield took on Toshiomi Kazama his last fight. In the first round, he lands some jabs and some 1-2s at range. He lands a double jab, follows up with a right cross, and he lands a jab, and then a straight right to the body, and he's able to stuff the clinch attempt, and he lands a right uppercut to the body, and then a left hook to the head, rocks him with a jab, and then he drops him with a straight combo, just like a 1-2 down the middle, and then he walks into a hook off the jab, but that's okay. Yeah, he doesn't care. He smells blood in the water. He's going for it, and then he lands a KO with a 1-2 off the leg kick. So, yeah, both guys got power. Garrett Armfield plus 180, Brad Katona minus 220. Don't love the price tag, but I think, you know, Garrett Armfield, he's going to have to probably knock Brad Katona out, and Brad Katona is tough. And if it's 3 rounds, you know, I think Brad Katona could drag this one out. Garrett Armfield might be able to get a victory, but I just think Brad Katona is I think he's the nastier striker. Garrett Armfield might have better power, but, you know, Brad Katona, if he gets in the pocket with him, he's going to eat his buddy alive, probably be able to get the takedowns. Minus 220 is a little steep, but I like his momentum. I'm going to go with Brad Katona. We'll see, though. Okay. First fight on the main card, 145 pounds, men's featherweight. Arnold Allen, number 4, taking on number 9, Movsar Evloev. Should be interesting. There's a title fight in a month at this weight class. So, 145. Victory here by either guy could put them in the title conversation. Arnold Allen coming off a tough loss to Max Holloway, but it's understandable. Arnold Allen took on Max Holloway his last fight in the first round. He gets touched with some 1-2s at range, but he's able to land counter overhand left, but then eats some body kicks at range. Then the second round, he lands a jab, and then overhand left, and wings some hooks in the pocket, and then he kind of clips them, but then he's able to land a counter left hook off of Max's jab. Really nice counter left overhand. And then in the third round, he eats a 1-2 off of a missed hook. But then he walks into some jabs at range, and he eats some 1-2s off of his cross. And that was a 5-round fight, but yeah. And Movsar Evloev took on Diego Lopez's last fight. Diego Lopez took this fight on like a week's notice, by the way. In the first round, he lands some right hooks. Remember, he gets pressed, but then he eats some counter hooks in the pocket. But then he lands it overhand, follows it up with a nice ankle pick. But then he gets caught in a really deep armbar, and he should have tapped, but he didn't. So, I don't know. Then in the second round, he presses with some jabs, but then he eats a left hook when he's walking forward. But then he lands a jab at an overhand right. He presses with the 1-2 in the pocket. He's able to get the double leg takedown off the fence, and he postures up, lands some heavy ground and pound toward the end of the round. Really put an exclamation point on that one. But then in the third round, he lands a 1-2, gets an underhook to the fence, switches to the double, and then he's able to stay around the back standing whenever Diego's able to work his way back up. But then they get into a scramble, and he gets caught in a knee bar, and his knee basically gets hyperextended toward the end of the round. So, yeah, man, he should have tapped 2 times. Diego Lopez had a heck of a performance on, like, a week's notice. UFC debut, by the way. Movsar Evloev, minus 185. Arnold Allen, plus 155. Yeah, this one's a toss-up. Arnold Allen traditionally has good wrestling defense. We'll see. Movsar Evloev, he's not the most dominant wrestler. But Movsar Evloev, his striking's been developing. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a very interesting one. I think Arnold Allen's going to be able to stay up on the feet for most of the fight. If he does get taken down, I think he'll be able to work his way back up in a relatively quick time frame. So, but Movsar, he's going. I think both guys are good conditioning for for all 3 rounds. So, this might be a little bit of a coin flip. I know they have different styles, but, it's just all about if Movsar can get the takedowns, basically. I think Arnold Allen's a little more accurate on the feet, so he's got some big shots. He can hurt Movsar a little bit. So, plus 155 for that price. I'm going to go with Arnold Allen on this one, but I really wouldn't be surprised either way. Second fight on the main card, 185 pounds, men's middleweight. Number 14, Chris Action Man Curtis, trying to get a win here, trying to make it through a full fight without there being a no contest. Taking on Marc-Andre Barriault, the power bar. Marc-Andre's trying to get into the rankings. Chris Curtis trying to hang on to that ranking. So it's a big fight for either guy to kind of show us where they're at in this weight class, Chris Curtis took on Kelvin Gastelum his last fight. In the first round, he walks into a 1-2. But then he lands a lead left hook, and he follows it up, throws the uppercut. Doesn't quite get it, though, but then he lands a lunge jab, and then he's able to slip the cross. And then in the second round, he lands some right hooks, and then a left hook to the body off of Kelvin's leg kick. Then there's a headbutt, and that happens, and he drops to the ground. Kelvin gets around his back and lands a bunch of ground and pound. But he got dropped from a headbutt. It's pretty clear that happened. So, I thought he could have won this round if that didn't happen, but we'll never know. But, yeah, the ref did not stop it, so unfortunate for Chris. But then he's able to he throws the left overhand, then he's able to land a right uppercut. Then in the third round, he's able to land a left hook at range, but then he gets clipped with a 1-2, and then he walks into some overhands in the pocket. Then he gets underhooked to the fence, but he's able to stop the single leg attempt. Then he's able to land an uppercut from the color die, and he really likes to get in the pocket, rip the body, rip those uppercuts. And then Marc-Andre Barriault took on Eric Anderson last fight. The first round, he lands a right body kick and then a right hook and drops him with it. Really nice combo. But then he's able to land an overhand right whenever he gets pressed. He's able to stuff the double leg attempt up against the fence, uses the wizard, pushes on the head, he's able to work back up. Really nice stuff. But he's able to slip the overhand. He's able to land a counter left hook. Then in the second round, he breaks the clinch. He's able to land a 1-2, and then he lands a jab, but then he eats a counter straight left. But then he gets taken out of the single off the fence. But then he's able to back up and land some left hooks with his back toward the fence. But then he's able to walk through some jabs, tries to get the collar tie, and he looks for some uppercuts and some short hooks in the collar tie. Then in the third round, he has his back to the fence, rips a couple shots to the body, and then he lands a right body kick, follows it up with a nice left cross. And then he was able to land a 1-2, followed up with an uppercut into the clinch, and then he'll kind of circle out of the way. and then he plants a straight right from range, really loads up on the power on that one, and then he lands a head kick, follows it up with the left hook in the pocket. Then he eats a jab off of the front kick. But yeah, it was a competitive fight, but Marc-Andre was able to get the better of those clinch situations and had the bigger power. And Eric would like push him up against the fence sometimes, but Mark was just like, he wasn't exerting too much energy then, but he was able to work his way back off the fence and just save his energy. Look good for the all three rounds. Marc-Andre plus 155, Chris Curtis minus 185. Another tough one. I think it's lined evenly. I think Marc-Andre definitely has the potential to win a 3-round slobber knocker, but I just think Chris Curtis has a little. He doesn't knock everybody out, but his body shots are just so nasty and so devastating. And, you know, you're not going to take Chris Curtis down. Marc-Andre doesn't really need to, but it's just going to come down to the boxing, I think. And I think Chris Curtis, just a little cleaner, just has a little bit more power. And if he can get inside on Marc-Andre and land those body shots, I think it'll slow Mark down over the 3 rounds. So it's a toss-up. Don't love the price tag. Chris Curtis minus 185, not too bad. I'm going to take Chris Curtis. I think he finally gets back on track here. Feature fight of the night, 170 pounds. Big matchup for the bottom of the rankings. Men's welterweight, Neil Magny, number 13, taking on Mike Proper MALOTT, the Canadian sensation, trying to get into the rankings. Neil Magny's the guy you fight if you want to get in the rankings. Neil Magny took on Ian Gary's last fight on short notice. In the first round, he eats a stiff jab at range. He eats some jabs, and he's not able to get the underhook clinch, and he was trying for that. You know, that's pretty much his go-to, couldn't get it, and then he eats some leg kicks whenever he's coming forward, but then he tries to go for the collar tie, but then he gets clinched up against the fence, gives up the body lock. In the second round, he gets wobbled pretty bad with the leg kick, and he just takes leg kicks the whole fight, okay? But then he's able to catch the kick and shoots a single to the fence. He's able to get the body lock, but then he gets wobbled with the leg kick, and then he eats a 1-2. And then he comes off the fence, throws a lead hook, but he misses. He's like way out of range. Then in the third round, he eats a 1-2 up against the fence, and he gets dropped with another leg kick, but then he eats a leg kick and then a front face kick and eats a flurry up against the fence, and then he gets taken out with an inside trip toward the end there. So eats some ground and pound. So yeah, not a good performance from him. Is Neil Magny slowing down? I don't know. Ian Gary's pretty good too. Mike MALOTT took on Adam Fugit his last fight in the first round. He throws a jab, and he's able to land a right body kick. Really nice combo there. It hurt him pretty bad. Made him walk backwards, but then he lands left and right hook, follows it up with a head kick, and then he's able to land a couple front kicks, and then he slides, but he's coming forward, sides right into a jab, eats a jab, and then he's able to stuff the shot, and he's able to get the outside trip takedown, and then he's able to get a single off of the front kick. And then in the second round, he drops him with the right, then left hook, and then he just kind of pulls the guillotine and gets submission. So, yeah. He's a powerhouse. He hits pretty hard. Mike MALOTT, minus 375. Neil Magny, plus 295. Yeah, this line is absolutely ridiculous. It's very disrespectful. This is not short notice. Neil Magny's basically a plus 300 underdog. I'm betting Neil Magny. Mike MALOTT's probably going to hurt him pretty bad in the first round, probably even in the second round. But how's his cardio? We don't know. I think Neil Magny's just going to be able to clinch him up at some point. And Neil Magny submitted Daniel Rodriguez. But yeah, Neil Magny does get submitted pretty easily. Mike could definitely finish him, but if he finishes him, it's going to have to be in the first round. You know, I think Neil Magny can weather the storm here. Plus 300 for Neil Magny. That's a no-brainer. I'm going with Neil Magny, man. Plus 300. That's probably the best bet of the card. Coming in event of the evening, 135 pounds, women's bantamweight for the vacant title. Raquel Rocky Pennington taking on Mayra Bueno Silva. Should be interesting. Everybody wants to see Juliana Pena fight for the title, but, you know, this could end up being a really good fight, honestly. So, Raquel Pennington took on Ketlen Vieira her last fight in the first round. She slips, and she's able to rush some overhands and some jabs to the body. Then she backs out of the range of jabs, and then she lands some double jabs. She lands a 1-2 blitz, is able to follow it up with a left hook. Then she gets clipped with an overhand standing at range, and she throws a Superman punch to be able to get the body lock up against the fence. You don't see too many Superman punches these days. Then in the second round, she able to land a lunge, straight right, standing from range, and then she lands a jab to the body lock, gets around the back standing. She's able to land a left hook, follows up with a straight right, and then she's able to land a lunge right cross. Then in the third round, she throws a Superman right, but then she eats a 1-2, followed up by an uppercut combination, but she's able to get out of range, doesn't eat it full flush. But then she's able to land an overhand right, but then she gets countered with a right cross. Lands the overhand right, but she gets countered with a right cross, and then she gets underhooked to the fence. And then she lands a step in, 1-2, and then he gets the body lock, but then she gets reversed and gives up the back, and Ketlin's able to get a leg in, but it was towards the end of the round. Ketlin didn't do any damage at all. So, you know, pretty competitive fight, but, you know, Raquel had her moments for sure. I thought she won. I thought it was clear. Mayra Bueno Silva took on Holly Holm her last fight. In the first round, she gets clinched to the fence off of a front kick. She's able to catch the kick and land a nasty left hook. But yeah, she got clinched up a lot. But then in the second round, she lands a right hook, but then she gets clinched to the fence. But then she just kind of pushes the head down, snaps up a ninja choke, gets a submission standing. So, yeah. Who submits Holly Holm, you know? So, yeah. Mayra Bueno Silva, minus 160. Raquel Pennington, plus 135. This is a coin flip. We're going 5 rounds. I probably favor Raquel Pennington over the course of 5 rounds. Who knows if it's going to get there? Mayra Bueno Silva is dangerous in the early rounds. But I think Raquel, you know, and Mayra is more powerful, but I think Raquel has the cleaner striking, and she's getting better fundamentals. Mayra Bueno Silva is probably going to be looking for a big choke or a big shot the whole fight. I think she'll get tired if the fight goes on, but it's really a coin flip. I could see Mayra catching a big submission or something early on. But, yeah, if Raquel Pennington keeps that steady pressure, you know, I think she can outwork her. So, plus 135. I'll go with the underdog, Raquel Pennington. You know, we'll see what happens, though. Main event of the evening, 185 pounds, men's middleweight. Sean Tarzan Strickland, the American Psycho, the psychopath, taking on Dricus du Plessis, possibly the real African champion. Israel Adesanya is out of the picture, at least for this fight. Can Sean Strickland defend the title? Because Matt Hughes said you're not a champion unless you defend the title. So, can Sean defend it? Or is Dricus going to knock out somebody else or submit somebody else? You know, Dricus has been on an absolute tear in the UFC. Sean Strickland finally coming into his own, finally hitting his prime. So, we'll see. A lot of animosity going both ways, so should be a fun fight. Or it could possibly be a boring 5-round fight, but let's hope not. Let's hope something big happens. But Sean Strickland took on Israel Adesanya's last fight on short notice for the title. In the first round, he lands a double jab to the fence, and then he lands a 1-2 on the fence, and he's able to grab the hand, follows up with a right cross, and then he drops him with the 1-2 counter off the left hook. And he gets around the back, punches him a bunch, but time ran out. But yeah, and then after that, pretty much every round went the same. It was pretty close back and forth. I think Izzy won the second round, but, you know, Sean won the rest of those rounds, but not by much, you know. Just kind of outpointed him. But then in the second round, he pumps jabs at range. And he's able to land a couple shots to the body. Then he walks into a jab and then an overhand. But then he's able to land a jab through the leg kick, naked leg kick. But then he walks through the overhand, right? And, you know, kind of eats some shots. But, you know, he wasn't really using his full output that round. But, you know, Izzy wasn't like dominant or anything. Then in the third round, he lands some front kicks. Then he clips him with the right hook off of the 1-2. He's able to land a counter, left hook off of Izzy's overhand. Then he throws a jab, and then a left hook off of Izzy's right hook. So, yeah, he's doing a good job of slipping and countering, shoulder rolling, Philly show. And, yeah, he just kept walking forward on Izzy. And most people don't want to go forward on Izzy, or do they just rush him too bad? But he had slow, steady pressure, and he was able to outstrike him. He dropped him in the first round. I think that got in Izzy's head. So, yeah. Dricus du Plessis took on Robert Whittaker's last fight. In the first round, he walks into an overhand right. He's able to back out of the range of jabs, but then he gets doubled off a jab in the pocket. But then he tries to pull the guillotine, but he's able to use that and then puts his back up against the fence. He's able to get back up. Then he's able to land a lunge right hook, but then he's able to catch a leg kick, and then he's able to land a counter 1-2. But then he's able to get like standing arm triangle whenever Rob tries to go for the collar tie, and then he's able to get the outside trip and gets half guard, lands some heavy ground and pound toward the end of the round there. Pretty surprising to a lot of people. Then in the second round, he gets pressed with the 1-2 and a head kick, but then he's able to land a collar tie and land some knees to the body, but then he eats a hook. And then he's able to drop him with the lunge jab, kind of out of nowhere. Rob walked right into it, but you don't see too many people get dropped from jabs. But then he just chases him on the fence and lands a hook flurry against the fence and gets a knockout. You see Robert Whittaker drop to his knees. So, yeah. I picked him for that fight. I don't know, but, you know, Dricus, he can knock anybody out, basically. So, yeah. And this is where we're at. He was supposed to fight Izzy, and he didn't because he wasn't ready. So, Sean fought him. So, this is the rightful champion, I guess. Both guys minus 110, even money. I don't know how long this fight's going to go, but if it goes 5 rounds, obviously it'll favor Sean. The big question is, how does Dricus' cardio hold up for 5 rounds? Knowing my luck, he's probably going to have superior 5-round cardio to Sean Strickland for some reason. But I've never seen him go 5 rounds. And he's going to throw a lot of big power at Sean early. I would think so. I think Dricus probably wants to get this fight over with early. And then Sean probably knows he's going to have to weather a storm and just jab his face off in the later rounds. Personally, I'm going to give it to Sean. You know, this fight is a coin flip, but I think Sean's going to be able to weather the storms. He's going to be able to defend the wrestling and the submission attempts. I'm sure he's going to be aware of that. And I think rounds 3, 4, and 5, I think he's going to start putting a pace on Dricus. Dricus is going to get a little tired. He's just going to slowly jab him, add a cross, add a hook, you know, one trick at a time. And I think he's just going to jab the life out of him, basically. But I could obviously see Dricus getting a big knockout or a big submission early on. But I'm going to go with Sean. I feel his momentum. I think this is his time. I hope he proves it's not a fluke. -110. I'm going to go with Sean Strickland. All right, everybody. Thanks for riding with me. Appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all that stuff. Hopefully, I have a perfect record this week. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, I got a good feeling about every fight, pretty much. A couple fights could go either way, but who knows? Let's see some upsets. Let's see some violence, and let's see some profits. Good luck, everyone.